this episode, we have Seedstars World. Seedstars World is a startup organization based in Switzerland focused on reducing unemployment through investment and promotion of entrepreneurship. We have the regional managers in Africa in the studio with us. We have Marcelo Sharma and Gregory Pepper. Please, you're welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you
so much.
Yes, there has been a tremendous effort to address the issue of unemployment in Nigeria in particular, and taking into consideration the benefits of IT, there is a lot of focus on using IT as a medium to address this situation. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we start, Gregory, let me start with Marcelo. Marcelo, can you give us a history of Seedstars World?
Sure. So Seedstars World is about 3 years old now. Seedstars World started in 2013 as a global startup competition in about 20 countries. And so the founders, they traveled 20 countries all around the world to find the best entrepreneurs and the best startups in these emerging markets. And then it has grown over the past few years from 20 countries up to 52 today.
Wow.
And the mission is still the same. The mission is to find, invest, connect, and promote the best entrepreneurs from emerging markets.
Wow, fantastic. And how many countries have you been so far to?
So in Africa, this year we started the first year in Africa, maybe to give you some history. The first year in Africa, we did 4 countries. Then we expanded to 8 last year, and are going to 12 this year. And we're hoping to grow even more next year. And this year we've done about 4 countries so far with Nigeria. So we have another few countries ahead of us throughout the rest of the year.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Gregory, can you tell us a little bit about what Seedstars World is doing in Nigeria so far?
So far in Nigeria, we arrived here last Monday. So we first, connected with the local people, found out about Lagos in general. And our main focus here is actually in 2 different directions. The first is a company that won the competition 2 years ago, which is called Simple Pay. Simeon won 2 years ago in Geneva, the competition.
Okay.
And so we have one of our co-founders currently here,
Beautiful.
Benjamin Benaim,
Beautiful.
who's working very closely with Simeon because he obviously won the competition the first year and he received investment for his company. And the way it works, it's a very hands-on approach. So there's not only investment, but a lot of support from the team behind, from Seedstars. So they came here to Lagos and then are working with him. And a second of the co-founders, so there's 3 co-founders in Seedstars, and a second one is also coming in mid-August to also work with Simeon on getting this company even bigger and further off the ground. So that's the one. And on the other hand, Marcello and I, as he was saying, we're organizing all these startup competitions around Africa. And Lagos event is actually today, this afternoon.
Beautiful.
So Seedstars Lagos will be
Beautiful.
this afternoon, and it's part of Startup Week Lagos. And so we're here actually to discover who would be the best entrepreneur in Nigeria.
Fantastic, fantastic. To bring up this week is Lagos Startup Week, whereby we're celebrating all the innovation, development that IT startups are trying to bring. And it's been fantastic. Seedstars World gave a lecture on, what's the title of the lecture?
How to get funding before you get funded.
How to get funding before you get funded. Fantastic. And today, like Gregory mentioned, they have a pitching competition. Fantastic. Marcelo, can you tell us a little bit about this pitching competition, the winners and so far?
Sure. So the basic concept is quite simple. We invite about 10 to 12 early stage companies from all around the countries. Each company gets 6 minutes to present their idea in front of a panel of judges. At the end of the day, out of these 10 to 12 companies, one winner will be selected, and they get the title the best startup in Nigeria. The winner will then get invited to Switzerland at the beginning of next year, where we have our big final event. The big final event is basically an event where the winners of all the countries, so there's going to be 52 or more startups,
Wow.
flown to Geneva,
Wow.
competing for the grand final prize, which is 3 investments of $500,000 each.
Wow. Wow.
So the company winning today will be able to compete for that investment amount of $500,000, which is quite exciting.
Wow. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And simple pay, 2013, right?
Correct.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, can we talk a little bit about the operating model of Seedstars World? I don't know who will take that up.
Okay, so there's three pillars to the business model of Seedstars World. One thing we try to do is to run these competitions. We try to work with local sponsors and local partners because we believe there's a lot of mutually beneficent partnership potential by working with people in the local ecosystem. So one part is just a financial sponsorship. The second part, what we're trying to work on now, is if you think of running these competitions and getting all these startups into our network, all of these startups can be connected to opportunities further on. So if you look at investors, if you look at accelerators, they're always looking for startups, and we can be the ones telling them about these startups and connecting them to these startups. So if you're an investor and you want to invest in a new market, but you don't know the market, then we can help you find a company to invest in. And we ensure the quality of the company as well by virtue of running a very exclusive and very selective startup competition. So the second pillar of the business model is really connecting people to potential investment, partnership, growth opportunities. And the third pillar is really more on the, let's say, corporate partnership side. What we've seen a lot is that big companies are in need of innovating. So all the big banks, all the big telcos, all the big companies, they're generally not good at innovating. And they know that startups and entrepreneurs are the ones that are good at innovating. So what we're seeing more and more is that these corporates are reaching out to the startup ecosystem to work with entrepreneurs on, being faster, being quicker, being more innovative, and being more agile. And so what they specifically do is they reach out to startups and say, okay, the product that you have would be a value add for our customers. And so let's say a bank could use the software, give it to their own customers, and give that startup access to market it would have never had before. And so ensuring that these mutually beneficial relationships happen on a product level, let's say, is another pillar of the business model that we have. So it's really it's sponsorship, it's trying to connect VCs, investors with the right startups, and then connecting corporates with the right startups and entrepreneurs as well.
Can you put me through this process? I have a beautiful idea. I'm a techie, but I don't know what to do, or how do I get to Seedstars World? What happens? Do I have to go through an incubator, accelerator before I get to Seedstars World, or I can get directly connected to Seedstars? I don't know. Gregory, can you put me through that?
Sure. So you don't need specific accelerator or incubator background.
Okay.
Very happy to know you've got a great idea, a great tech idea, and that's mainly what you need. Then to apply to the competition, there's actually 3 main criteria that you'll have to respect.
Okay.
The first is that your company must not be more than 2 years old.
Okay.
The second is it has to have received less than $500,000 of investment. And the third criteria is it has to have an MVP, a minimum viable product or a prototype. Okay. So that's a criteria to actually apply to the competition. Okay. So then you would look and see in which city you would like to apply it to. So if it's in Africa, it's one of the 12 we're going to. And then through that application, so you find the city, and then you can actually pre-apply. So then you'll fill in the form, say exactly what your startup is, what your model is, etc. And then we'll invite you to do the actual application. And after that, we screen through it ourselves and also CFO and the rest of the team, which is back based in Geneva.
Yeah.
We screen through the applications and we select 10 to 15 companies that will actually come to pitch at the events around Africa.
Quite straightforward, really. That's really nice. And let me add it here. Let me add this point here. Even though Seedstar World is also a startup, right?
That's correct, yes.
They've been able to raise in their portfolio for startup $20 million, right? Am I correct on this? That's fantastic. Now, let's dissect the entrepreneurship mindset. I have a fantastic idea. I believe I can make it happen. I want to fly. Now, when I meet an organization like your Seedstar World, and we've gone through all this process you just mentioned, my mindset, my attitude, does it play a significant role in making things happen and eventually succeeding with the startup? I don't know. Marcelo, can you take that?
Absolutely. I would probably go as far as saying that the mindset and the attitude that you have towards your own venture is probably the most critical thing, because an idea in itself is not going to guarantee you success. Just having an idea is not going to guarantee that you can deliver on that idea, execute on that idea, sell that idea. So having the right mindset, and with the right mindset, what we usually end up looking for is people who have, go-getter attitude, who don't wait for other people to do stuff, but are just willing to do things themselves.
Okay.
For people who are hungry, for people who have, the energy to try and to make it work, for people who, they don't sleep at night because they dream about their business.
Okay.
So really that drive, that attitude is one of the main things we're looking for. And then other things that obviously are important are things like experience.
Okay.
How experienced is the founder in that specific field or in that specific area, or how much is he willing to learn in areas, because eventually he's going to be uncomfortable in doing something new.
Yeah.
So how willing is he to learn? And then if you think of scaling a company, what becomes very important is you need to be a team player. So how likely or how capable is that person of expanding beyond himself?
Okay.
Because by yourself, you're never going to build a big company. What matters is you need to put the right people in place and build the right team. And so the ability of expanding your team with like-minded people, but people who are complementing your weaknesses and you are complementing theirs, that is, I think, a key skill that we also look for, because that's gonna be the crucial part in deciding whether you're gonna go from a one-person company to a 100-person company or a 1,000-person company.
Beautiful. So practically what you're saying is, even if you have a brilliant idea, you have the go mindset, and you're determined to do anything to make you succeed, you still need an effective team. You can't do it alone. So both complement each other. That means you have to have the ability to integrate, be willing to learn from others, and also inspire others. So that's part of the mindset. Fantastic. That's interesting.
And maybe another part just to add here, it's a fine balance to walk. So you need to have the ability to work with other people, learn from other people, but you also need to have the conviction that you're on the right path, independent of what other people tell you. So it's a very fine line to walk, because if you do something big, if you do something new, most people are going to tell you it's not important, it's not interesting.
It's not going to work.
It's not going to work. Nobody's going to buy it.
I've heard that a lot of time.
And people say that a lot of times, and sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not. But not being discouraged by other people's negative feedback, and also not being too hyped about people's positive feedback is very, very important. So just stay on your course and be very wise and smart about the advice and the input that you take, and the advice of the input that you don't take. It's very tough, but it's really important, and it takes a lot of conviction and like stability on your way.
Wow, interesting.
It's also interesting because it means that you need self-confidence, but self-confidence will also come from your success.
Okay.
Which means that you would have to make sure that even if you're not succeeding at a first stage, and even if failure is coming, and even if problems might arise, you're going to have to find enough energy and trust in yourself to, no matter what rocks your boat, keep it going.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about Simon Onomobi, about Simple Pay, just a little bit about the organization and the success they've had by meeting you?
So Simple Pay is a financial technology company, and when we invested into them, we saw a very dedicated, very talented, very driven founder who had the capability of building a great team with a product that had a really, really big potential. So that is Simeon when we met him. Today, with the characteristics that Simeon has combined with the support that we brought in, we've relaunched the application. So the application now is completely relaunched and it's really beautiful. We've helped him raise another round. So he recently announced that he raised another fundraising round, which is really important once you scale up. And he's also grown the team in the meantime. So I think the way I would look at it is we found a raw diamond and we saw that diamond in him. And then, we came with all the tooling and the equipment and we helped him become like a shining diamond.
Wow.
That's probably the best analogy.
Wow, that's great. 2013 winner, a Nigerian, Simeon, Simple Pay, Seedstar, thumbs up. Nigeria's on the roll. Now, as an entrepreneur, financial literacy for an entrepreneur that's going into startup, I mean, he's a techie, all he knows is coding. Financial literacy, is it that significant, or you can build it in them along the line?
I think, yes, you can definitely build it along the line. There's some major aspects that will have to be sorted out by the entrepreneur. His revenue obviously is going to have to count probably the most.
Okay.
And also, even if he's a great IT person, is how exactly is that revenue going to come in? So defining very precisely what these revenue streams will be, and then also what your cost structure will be. So just at that level, making sure that when you're running your business, you're not running into the ground.
Okay.
So your break-even point also will be a very important thing to calculate. And then things like your books and your whole accounting systems, obviously you will need to do it, but the most important really would be that entrepreneur gets his business up and running off the ground.
Okay.
So I would say it's very important to have the knowledge, to learn about it, and as Marcello was saying, have the will to learn about it as well, because it will be very relevant for you, but also focus on that traction, on how you're going to bring your product to the market, and make sure that people are using it, that you are selling, and then make sure that people in your team, if you're not the best at it, will look after all these things with you for the better.
Okay, that's great. Now, at the end of the day, after the whole investment process, the partnership is going up, and the product is in the market, the customers are happy, everyone's happy. I mean, I want to assume you have probably a time frame that you exit a startup. What is your, strategy? Is it acquisition, or I don't know how you've been able to define that. For example, I'm looking forward to building a relationship with Seedstar World. Over the years, I'm going to build competence, build a great company. They might want to be my partners for a very long time, or they might want to wish me well and go do some other things with other people. How will they exit the business? I don't know if you can put a little bit into that, Marcelo.
Sure. There's a bunch of different ways how this can go.
Okay.
And one thing that's important is, as we're 3 years old, we're still a bit too young to have, the big plan figured out. because if you look at generally investment cycles are about 5 to 8 or even 10 years. So we're a bit too young to have like a very well defined and working strategy there. But just in general, I believe there's 2 or 3 different ways how this can work out.
Okay.
First of all is, the individual company could be acquired by someone.
Okay.
So let's say with the example of SimplePay, if at some point a bank like Stanbic or someone comes up and says, this is an interesting product, we want to use this and offer it to our customers, and they decide to buy the company, then that could be an interesting exit strategy, and that is one way. The other way is by, there's like M&A acquisitions between startups as well. So that could be an option.
Beautiful.
The other way of exiting could be by exiting through a new investment round. So in an investment round, you usually sell shares of the company, and the shares of the company can be either new shares or existing shares from existing shareholders. So that can be a way as well. Or if you look at the bigger picture at Seedstars, is once you start having a number of different companies on a continent, maybe in a specific industry, then that whole group of companies can become very valuable as well. Okay. So another route could be that at some point it's maybe not the individual company that gets sold or publicly listed, but it can be the group of companies. It can be an e-commerce group. It can be an Africa group. So there's a bunch of different ways to think about it. But we'll have to figure it out along the way. It's the beauty of being a startup ourselves.
Beautiful, fantastic. So there you have it. We've had Seedstar World with us today talking about possibilities. What can happen, how it can happen, wealth creation, wealth preservation, and a culture of corporate governance. 2015, Lagos Startup, later in the day, there are going to be 10 pitches. Someone is going to get the opportunity to go to Geneva and make a pitch. 2016, it's going to be on 2016. 2016, you can be inspired and imagine the possibilities that can happen. So, jump on the wagon. Seedstar World is making it happen. They're here to stay. They're doing it, and they're going to keep on doing it. I'm your host, Bashado, and it's a pleasure keeping date with you. See you on the next episode.